Hello everyone, you are most welcome in YouTube channel Learning with Rajesh. In 10th class history cbse, we will start lesson number 1 today. The name of lesson of history is the rise of nationalism in Europe. You know that in history lesson number 1 is very difficult lesson to understand, and that's why students are demanding that sir please make a video on that topic named as the rise of nationalism in Europe. Firstly, to start with the lesson, we have a picture in the lesson made by Frederick Soryu. Now we learned that what were the main feature of that series of picture made by Frederick Soryu in the lesson number 1. You know that Frederick Soryu is a French artist, and he made a series of 4 picture that is on the first page of lesson, and he named it this series of picture as Dream World, and the topic or major headline of the series is Democratic and Social Republic. And he prepared a series of 4 prints. You know very well that Frederick Soryu is a French artist, and he prepared a series of 4 prints, and the title of this series is Democratic and Social Republic. I hope you learned 2-3 points of the beginning. Now in the first pic, he drew his intention like people of Europe and America offering homage to the Statue of Liberty. You can see that Statue of Liberty is there in the picture, and people of Europe and America offering homage to the Statue of Liberty. In the next print, Frederick Soryu shown that people of France and Germany with tricolor, followed by Germany bearing black, red and gold flag. It means in the next print of picture, people of France and Germany are going with their flags. And in the next print, Frederick Soryu shown that following the people of Germany, the people of Austria, England, Hungary and Russia there. In the next print, Frederick Soryu shown that after the people of France and Germany, there were people of Austria, England, Hungary and Russia. They followed them. And finally, he showed in the picture that from the heavens above, Christ, saint and angels gaze upon the scene. Upon the scene means on the rest of 3 scenes, from the heaven above, Christ, saint and angels were gazing upon, looking that the people are going to unitize themselves. They are demanding for a nationalism, a nation state. So it is shown in the picture by Frederick Soryu. I hope you learned the first point that Frederick Soryu wanted to show the picture, and in through the picture he wanted to show the democratic and republic society. Democratic and republic society. And the nextly, he also shown that people are demanding for nation state. Now the meaning of nation state is where people come to develop a sense of common identity and shared history, and this thought is known as nation state. Now you can say that India is a nation state where people come to develop a sense of common identity. Common identity means first of all they are Indian, and nextly they have a shared history, and you know that India is a nation state. I hope with the example you got this point. Next, Ernest Renan. Ernest Renan, firstly, a question will be in your mind, sir. Who is Ernest Renan there, and what is the motive of your telling us that about the Ernest Renan? About Ernest Renan, you know that Ernest Renan is the French philosopher. He he delivered a speech in a lecture in the University of Sorbonne in 1882 on the topic of what is nation. He delivered a speech in the University of Sorbonne in 1882 about what is nation. Now the next question, sir, what did he tell about the nation? What was his philosophy about nation? So he said that a nation is the culmination of a long past of endeavors, sacrifice, and devotion. He told that nation is not only the thing of fighting and by the revolutionaries. This is the culmination of endeavors, sacrifice, and devotion. And a heroic past, glory, a story based on national idea. Nation is the heroic past, nation. And it is the past of glory and story based on national idea. So national idea also involved in the making of a nation. I hope you learned 2-3 main points given by Ernest Renan. Firstly, Ernest Renan was a French philosopher, and he delivered a lecture in the University of Sorbonne. And what was the major topic of his speech? What is nation? And he told us that a nation is the culmination of endeavors and of a sacrifice and devotion. And it's also the culmination of heroic past and glory. I hope you learned this point easily. And the next point of today is the French Revolution, the idea of nation. You learned that what were the major view of Ernest Renan about nation, but the French Revolution was introduced the people of Europe with the idea of nation. You learned in 9th class also. Firstly, it was the first expression of nationalism in Europe or in all over the world. It took place in the history of France in 1789, and it was against the monarchy system, because you learned that Louis XVI was a monarch at that time in France. So the fourth point, I think it's clear to you that the French Revolution introduced the people of Europe with the idea of nation. Now the next point, how did French revolutionaries introduce the people with the idea of nation? How did? They told the people and they advised the people to increase the rise of, and increase and means the rise of values. They rose value towards the people, value to unitize the country. And they also united the community, by telling that we have to unite ourselves for making a nation state. And they made a new French flag, tricolor French flag, to introduce and to increase the nationalism in France. And they also made a national assembly. Firstly, you learned in 9th class that it was known as Estate General. Estate General, and after the revolution, it was known as National Assembly, and the Assembly of Third Estate and the elected members. And nextly, they made a common language to increase the nationalism in France. And finally, they made the uniform system of weights and measures, because You can say that, sir. Why? Because at that time there was different weighing system and measurement system in Europe and also in France at that time. So that's why the nationalists of France made the uniform system of weighs and measures to unite or to make unity in the society. I hope you learned this point easily, and it will be a 5 marks question in your exam. How did French Revolutionary introduce the idea of nation? I hope you got this point easily. And the next point of today is, how was the idea of nation separate? Who separated this idea of nation? You learned the meaning of nation according to Ernest Renan, and you also learned that idea of nation was spread through the French Revolution, and how did French revolutionaries spread this idea, and who spread these ideas all over the Europe. Now Jacobin club spread this idea of nation throughout the Europe. And French armies also spread this idea of nation. So you can say that, sir, how armies? Because they spread it to when they enter to attack, when you know that Napoleon and other ruler, they enter to conquer the nearby areas like Holland, Belgium and Switzerland. When the French army entered in these countries, they spread the idea of nation. They told that these countries also should have to follow the idea of nation. And the next is Napoleon Court. You learned that when Napoleon became the emperor of France, he introduced some provisions or some changes in the society, and these changes were known as Napoleon Court. Have you learned the point now? What is the meaning of Napoleon Code here? Napoleon Code is some provision made by Napoleon at that time. The Civil Code of 1804. Napoleon Code is also known as the Civil Code of 1804. What were the major provision under it? Equality before law. Napoleon made this major point, equality before law. Secured the right to property. He also secured the right to property. And nextly, he simplified the administration. And the major point, he abolished the feudal system in the country. And finally, he also made some transportation and communication system improved in the country. And these provisions were known as the Civil Code of 1804. There will be a 5 marks question in the exam. How did Napoleon change through the Civil Code of 1804 in France? I hope you got the point easily. And the next point is making of nationalism in Europe. You learned that some philosopher gave the idea of nation, and French Revolution gave the idea of nation, and revolutionary also spread the idea of nation, and this was also spread through the armies and Jacobin clubs. And finally, what were the main reason why people were increasing the idea of nation? You learned some points through the French Revolution, but some major points or some major problem were also there, because people were increasing their nationalism in Europe. First, there were monarchy system in many parts of Europe, and there was different culture also. People are not following the same culture. Their culture were different. So because their culture were different, they were not unitized. As we all know that in our society also, if some person or some people are from different culture, we hate them. It means not unitized. That's why People were increasing nationalism in Europe and unitize them. Next is a lack of political unity. Lack of political unity also there. It means political ruler were not making unity or making the good rule in nationalism in Europe. I hope you learned 2-3 points easily that why nationalism in Europe. Next is a rise of liberals. After that, who introduced or who increased the nationalism in Europe? Liberals increased the nationalism in Europe. Now you will learn firstly that what is the meaning of liberals here. Liberal word is derived from Latin word liber and it means free. And they were demanding for freedom and equality in the society. Liberals were demanding for freedom and equality in the European society. And they were against suffrage. But they were against suffrage. You know that suffrage means the revolution or means the protest for right to vote. And they were in favor of freedom of markets. And they wanted to abolish the restriction on the movement of goods and capital. Goods and capital. Next is, because you learned that there were different measurement system in the country, in France or all over the Europe. So that's why they needed to make the uniform system of measures and weights in the country or in Europe. That's why in 1834 German states formed a custom union, and this custom union was known as Zollverein. There will be objective type question in the exam. What do you mean by Zollverein? Zollverein here means in 1834 German states formed a custom union for making the weighing system and measurement system simplify. They made a union and this union was known as Zollverein. This union abolished the trade barriers and also reduced the number of currencies 30 to 2. It means there were 30 currencies all over the Europe, but they reduced these currencies up to 2 for easy trade in the country or in Europe. I hope you got the point of Zollverein now. Finally, the final point of today is a new conservation after 1815. In 1815, you learned in 9th class that in the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated by some powers. And after 1815, there was conservatism. Now the first major question, sir, we don't know the meaning of conservation here. Yeah, conservatism here. Conservatism means traditional thinking and gradual changes. The people with thinking that there should be traditional value in the country and gradual changes, they were known as conservatism. After the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, European governments were driven by a spirit of conservation. You learned that what is the meaning of conservation here. They believed in modern army, efficient economy, a dynamic economy, the abolition of feudal system. It means in conservatism, people believed that there should be modern army, efficient economy, a dynamic economy should be there, and the abolition of feudal system is also there. It was known as conservatism after 1815. I hope you got the point. What are the main features of conservatism after 1815. I hope you got all the points of today easily. If you are new on my YouTube channel, Learning with Rajesh, please subscribe the channel, like and share also. Thank you. Jai Hind.